bok chicken. Okay, the dish washer is almost done, so bear with me for a little bit. I hope Santa or whoever was good to you for this New Year's. I found the lucky Vasilopita coin. I'll take some pictures of this because it's kind of cool, and I will post it on the Discord right away. It's the lights on in the kitchen. There we go. Selfie. No one wants to see me, that's for sure. I will edit this picture and post it later today. Saint Bill. We have name days for all the saints, and by we I mean Greeks. Fine Greek Orthodox people. There's I don't think I've ever met a Greek Catholic. So we're traditionally named after a saint, which makes for very boring naming conventions, especially when we're supposed to be. There's a lot of history with, a lot of tradition with naming your kids after one of your parents. So every second generation, a lot of the kids are named after grandparents, who are also named after saints. So the pool of available names is shockingly small. So if you want to be creative, you need to pop out more kids. So anywho, St. Bill, today is St. Basil's Day. So everyone with a name like Vicky or Bill or Basilios or any of those iterations, permutations, and or combinations, happy name day, Kronipola. And let's just get started. So this is a very traditional cake. Can you see me? Am I centered? I adjusted stuff for my scenes. One sec. Pardon me? Okay, thanks. Snakey, welcome. Yeah, about last night. It looks like the recording got corrupted, so I'm especially annoyed. But it was a fun night, and I don't know if I want to play that club. I know, right? I laughed when it happened. I just laughed because I thought it was just funny. We did have a professional videographer there because he's loosely associated with the crew at Ogre Mind. So JP brought out his super high-end cameras, so I might have some footage of me in there, but me, I'm doing well. How are you? But the Vasilopita, the cake itself, it's basically any other yellow cake. It's the basic ingredients: sugar, flour, butter, eggs. There's a little bit of extra leavening in here because the batter itself is a little thick. And then the secret thing is you take a coin. You should wash the heck out of it, make sure it's completely sanitized. Ooh, an interview, nice. I hope you get the job. Or get paroled, one or the other. You take your coin and either bag it up in some temperature, baking temperature. Andrew, Happy New Year. Baking temperature safe, like a Ziploc bag, like a 5 ml polycarbonate kind of bag, or foil. Eric, Happy New Year. I hope my lights aren't going to be a problem today. Okay, good. This coin has been through the Bake Machine, Bakatron a few times. I know, it's great to see everyone here. So I'm just going to shove this into the cake. Now there's a few ways to put it into the cake. One is you just throw it into the batter, and once you're done mixing everything, and hope it just ends up in a good place. Thanks. The other way is when you let the cake bake for about 20 minutes and then just drop this, not in the center. You don't want this in the middle because you're way more likely to have it cross a few pieces, but somewhere in the middle, half a radius away. So like if this was the diameter of the cake, you want it to be somewhere in here. And just gently press it in, nice and flat, so it doesn't slide around too much, and leave it alone. Or when you're done baking the cake, make a tiny slit with a giant knife. Just take your coin and slide it in, and then cover that area with frosting, well, in this case it's a glaze, or just powdered sugar. If you're super careful, you could cut out like a little wedge, put the coin in there, and use the top of that wedge to cover. Yeah. So anywho, whoever is lucky enough to get the coin without choking to death on it, because that's not very lucky, is blessed with good fortune for the entire year. Andrew, I just answered. I realized I don't know if I explained or mentioned what the whole point of the coin is. That's exactly it. It's for good fortune. Okay, so the recipe, as always, is over on the blog. Here's all the links. The dishwasher is going to be quiet very soon. And today's recipe, brought to you by the letter L, is right there. I did a keto version of this a couple of years ago. It was meh. Keto baking generally sucks. Like, unless it's very heavy egg-based or you're using weird ingredients. There's a lot of keto recipes that I think you just shouldn't be doing. Snaky, I just play a chef on Twitch. I'm an accountant and math analyst for my day job. An occasional corporate consultant for whatever needs consulting. I am mixing cement in my kitchen. I've been involved with restaurants and commercial kitchens since about 1979, 1980. I've been involved with the front and back end of a lot of restaurants, especially the construction and the management side and maintenance. So I've been around, I'm old, right? So I've been around kitchens a lot. Actually employed by a restaurant that wasn't owned by family. How many jobs have I had in a restaurant not owned by family? 2? 1? No, that was a family, yeah, 1. Since I was a child, yes, maiden, since I was a child, I worked with my dad. I apprenticed as a plumber since I was yay high. While you guys were out there partying with your Ataris and your Intellivisions, I was out learning how to do stuff with a pipe wrench and a threading machine and soldering and brazing and cutting things with a plasma torch. I don't know if it's very cool, but it came in handy. Good old-fashioned child labor, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to preheat the oven yet because it's going to be a while. I'm going to take my sweet time. Now, normally I would do this in a 10-inch cake pan or a 9-inch spring form. Those are the typical sizes. But I'm going to make 2 small ones. Oh, here we go. Nice and quiet. Shh. Enjoy the lack of background noise. I'm going to make 2 small ones because it started again. Angry bear. I'm going to make 2 small cakes. So I'm going to send one to my bro and sis. And I have no idea who's going to get the coin. It's going to be a coin flip. I've been waiting for that for about 18 seconds. Why am I a chef? Because I've been around kitchens my whole life, and apparently I've got a bit of a knack for explaining things and simplifying things as much as possible. So this isn't about food porn or watching me show off what I can do in the kitchen. This is about demonstrating just how incredibly easy it is to make good food at home on a serious budget. because I eat like royalty on not too much every month. And I actually make a point of not going berserk with presentation or making overly complex dishes, because I don't want this to be intimidating to anyone. I want this to seem simple, because it is. And I don't want anyone to be intimidated or think they can't do that. The single biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone when trying to take on a new skill or learn something, just jump into it. You're going to screw up, no problem. Just learn from it. Try to have fun. Honestly, it's the best way to do pretty much everything in life, I think.
Sorry.
Yes?
Sorry, I was just waiting. Your title is from last time?
That's interesting. I changed my title unless Twitch didn't like it. Hang on, let's see if I can fix this. Set title. Happy New Year. Vasilopita.
Thanks.
Apparently my title wasn't fine. Did it say something about Greek style?
Yeah, the leg of lamb.
Huh. Well, here we are with an even more gooder title.
Aiden saw it, but I saw it yesterday, even though I refreshed and everything.
So these things need to be greased, even though they're super duper non-stick and fairly high quality, because I want to demonstrate what we have here. When I am done with defoiling a butter, because I deflour things all the time, I like to save the paper, the aluminum wrapper, because there's butter that's still stuck to it. And you can take this and just give your baking pans and sheets and whatever a quick wipe, and look, it's magically buttered. Twitch is being stupid. Twitch is always stupid. I think today is the last day for 25% off subs, so if you want to go take advantage of that, go give Nuvo and Maiden a sub. I mean, I wouldn't complain if you subbed to me too. There's a whole bunch of streamers in here though. It's easy to lose track of who all streams. If you end up with a little clump of butter, it doesn't matter. Just let it hang out. A little bit of extra butter never hurt anyone. Yeah, it's only good until the end of today, I think. That's right. You can also take parchment paper and just cut out a strip and then just run it around the edge. Spray the outside with cooking spray or butter, because ironically, you spray the nonstick on the nonstick Teflon to help the nonstick parchment paper stick to it. I know that these are very, very nonstick, and I'm not worried about the cake sticking to this. If your pans are at all scratched up though, it's not a bad idea to run a ring of parchment paper around the top and especially the bottom. So here I have a spring-form pan. I've got this fancy little spring. And the bottom comes right out. This type of pan is most commonly used in making cheesecakes. Here's something very related, but the comes right out with a dramatic clang. I didn't need that eardrum. Is it a gadget? I don't think so. I don't think so. Pots and pans aren't gadgets. I mean, springform, I guess, is borderline, but you really do need it for cheesecakes. One thing that's interesting about this recipe is we have 2 leavening agents, and that's just the thing that makes the cake floof up. There are a lot of Vasilopita recipes, and just white cake or yellow cake recipes in general, where you will whip up the egg whites separate from the yolks, and you'll whip that up to something close to a meringue. So it's nice and floofy, and literally fold that into the rest of your batter. The egg whites will hold their shape as long as you're not too aggressive with stirring everything together. And the bubbles surrounded by the protein from the egg white will hold its shape when you bake it. Or you can rely on things like baking powder or baking soda with some sort of acid to have a reaction and foam up, make some bubbles, and then the rest of the structure being either like flour with gluten or sometimes cheese, or whatever is giving the structure itself to the thing you're baking. It'll hold it in place. When you're making bread, the yeast farting out CO2 bubbles after it eats sugar, that's where the bubbles come from. Baking powder, you just have to heat it up and it releases bubbles. Baking soda, you need to add some sort of an acid to it, and I'm sure you've done the elementary school volcano with the colored baking powder and baking soda and some vinegar, and it goes vloof, and everyone's all super bored because we've seen it a million times. Yeah. Okay. First things first, we have 2 cups of sugar and 1 cup of butter that we are going to cream together until the butter becomes a little lighter in color. The sugar is fully incorporated. This recipe, you can't take any shortcuts. It's a little time intensive, surprisingly enough. Even though it's Greek, you'd figure to be like lazy and late and, well, at least never on time. And it's funny how many cultures and ethnicities have that same self-deprecating humor, like island time for any islander, be it Peloponnesian or Jamaican or Haitian or whatever. Anyone that's on island time, notoriously late. Greeks, notoriously late. A lot of East Indians, notoriously late. Except for the super industrious ones. I just get a kick whenever I see jokes like that on how to put it, who's proud or likes to poke fun at their ethnicity, because a lot of the jokes are the same, and I'm like, it's not really unique, but I totally get it. So I'm just going to cut this 1 cup of butter into thirds-ish, just so it's easier to mix up, maybe even quarters. If you let this come to room temperature, it's a lot easier. This is mostly from the fridge. It's been out for a bit. It's really dry in here, so I'm going to need to hydrate a whole lot. And I might have picked up a bit of a chill last night. It was surprisingly cold. I know it's Winnipeg, and it's, in theory, the middle of winter, or at least a few weeks in. It's been surprisingly and shockingly warm out lately. It just went below freezing, and then it dropped a lot below freezing last night. So we just weren't used to the temperature. Okay, I need 2 cups of sugar. Just going to clean off this cup. Biggest piece of advice as far as actually making anything, pre-measure everything, line it up in front of you, and assembly line your food. Don't do what I'm doing. You know what? I take all of that back. I'm going to assembly line everything, mise en place properly. Let's get some containers. In here I need 2 cups. That's right, mise en place. Everything in its place. Put it in its place. Speaking of Greek style, 2 cups of sugar is going into this container. This recipe does not need to be weighed. Going by volume is fine. That's a lot of sugar. I need 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Flour is the trickiest one, though. It's one of the trickiest ingredients. Because some people, when they load up a measuring cup with flour, they'll squeeze it against the side of the bag. And flour is surprisingly compressible. So you can take a full cup of flour and compress it to somewhere between 50 and 60% of the initial volume. So you can get almost 2 cups of flour in a single scoop if you try really, really, really hard. Which is why weighing, if you're going to weigh any ingredient other than weed, flour. I'm kidding about the weed. Don't do drugs, kids, stay in school. 6 large eggs. I wonder what we're going to do with this.
The long carton. Get the one that's not quite full.
Yes. Thank you.
Because how many eggs did...
He brought six dozen?
Yeah. 6 dozen covered eggs.
Are they all covered in cloaca goodness?
There's something.
I'm going to just separate these eggs right now. Oh, I'm just going to get them in the bowl so they're all ready to go. 1 egg, firm crack on my counter. Look, like magic. Oh, there's an eggshell in there. Okay, stream's over. I quit. It's all over. We're done. Setting the kitchen on fire. I have no idea what I'm going to do. Should I use my fingers or chopsticks? Oh, Maiden already has an emote ready to make fun of me. Thanks. Thanks.
Put it there.
Thought you guys loved me. Well, this finger isn't really working. I mean, I could... Oh, check that out. That's a mad skill. I did get it. That was really, really difficult. If only there was a better way to do this. If only. Oh, look, I got another eggshell in there. Wait, there's like 3 pieces of eggshell in there. What else? Ooh, my tongue. Interesting. I'll save that for my OnlyFans. Now, there is a kitchen hack, if you will, where you can use this nature's very own patent pending eggshell scooper picker upper cup. And all you need to do is just, the eggshell here will cut right through the white. Just like so. You get your egg cup underneath and lift it straight up. And like magic, there's our piece of eggshell. Mind blown, right? Now, if you can't get the eggshell cup underneath the piece, you can just nudge it up the side of the bowl, like so. Like so. Just want to pick up all the egg white with it. And last but not least, I have one more piece. And I'll just pick that up. That's just a little bit of egg white. The reason I like to crack my eggs over a separate bowl, I just got 6 dozen farm fresh eggs. These are from Costco. But the farm fresh eggs sometimes have not Kinder but surprises, and I don't want to contaminate all of my bowl of eggs. Plus, it's annoying to fish out the pieces of eggshell. Oh yeah, the super fancy. Also, if you're separating the eggs, here's a super fancy one-handed technique. You go along the crack, get your thumb, just slide your thumb in there, pop the top up, and the egg just slides right out. You can see how brittle these shells are. Like, these things are really, really flimsy, which is a sign of poor nutrition. I have cracked my eggs on the side of things for like 30 something years, but the pros say just to, on a flat surface, and don't gently tap, give it a good whack. So there's our 6 eggs. Albinosaurus Jones, 11 months. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. over here in a little pot, I have 1 cup of milk that I'm just going to warm up a bit. We're only going to about 110 Fahrenheit with this, so like 40, what is it, 43? Oh, did you try it? Give it a good whack, that is what she said. I know I did the draw towards the middle of the summer. It was ready then. I thought I should wait a little longer, and then I had the excuse that I was waiting for my Pure Later account to get sorted out. And then I sort of forgot, and then I realized, you know what, if I just wait a little longer, it's better as a Christmas gift. So here we are. For anyone that doesn't know, I did a raffle just with not these channel points, but the OPA point or the Euro points. If you type in exclamation points, the system will tell you how many points you have. Everyone gets points just from watching. You get more points if you're subbed, if you cheer, if you do all the cool stuff. And once a year I do a raffle just with those points. And ooh, 5th place, nice. I turned the points off for myself and Nuvo, I believe. So I think Tharina's the number 1. I'm assuming. Yeah. She's my numero uno fan. And she's going to be putting me up for a while when I make it out to Cali. Update on that later. I need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I need some baking soda. I know. Well, that's because you ignore me, maiden. There's so many days that you just neglect me and go to other channels, or you're not even online. I'm not sure which is worse. I kid. Okay. Now, if your container has a narrow opening like this, I'm going to leave that one alone. The easiest way to level this off is just with the flat end of your butter knife. Two teaspoons of baking powder, not soda, powder. You need half a teaspoon of baking soda. Now, one thing about Vasilopita, there's all of the variants that I've ever seen use some form of citrus for the flavor. Sometimes there's a vanilla in the glaze. The topping is either powdered sugar or some sort of a sugar glaze. If you're using a sugar glaze, citrus normally goes in there, but you can go with vanilla, you can go with both. Some people use like a cognac or a brandy. Sky's the limit for the glaze, but the actual cake itself, depending on what part of Greece you're looking at, it's either going to be orange or lemon. Some places will use rose water just because they're pretentious. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I don't have any oranges, so today we're going with lemon. If you can, if you have the fresh stuff, use the real fresh stuff. And throw in a bit of zest from your orange or lemon too, because that stuff has such amazing flavor, just a little bit. Because I don't like buying, I will go over the difference right away. Because I don't like buying bags of lemon or orange, real lemon is the next best thing. It's consistent. It's dirt cheap compared to the real thing, and it'll stay fresh in my fridge for years. For me, it's a necessary evil. The difference between baking powder and baking soda, baking powder has a dry acid that's heat activated in with it. So if you have baking soda, you mix it with vinegar or some acid and it'll foam up. You take your baking soda, add a heat-activated dry acid, so once you heat it up, that acid becomes active and will mix up with the baking soda and have a reaction. That's the difference between baking powder and baking soda. Baking powder is baking soda plus something that's heat-activated. which is also why it's a lot more expensive. And if you're interested in looking at recipes through that lens, you'll quickly get a sense of what ingredients have an acidic component. If you look at a recipe that calls for baking soda and not baking powder. So a lot of things like biscuits, some muffins, some pancakes that use baking soda, not powder, but baking soda, it'll call for buttermilk. And buttermilk is milk that has vinegar added to it. And that's why. Because the vinegar that's been added to the milk will react with the baking soda. And you thought you'd never use high school chemistry. Come on. Or you could just follow the recipe and you're still good. If it's going to last for years in your fridge, you're darn sure there's preservatives in there. Like I said, necessary. Oh, you're allergic to them. Well, that's not good. Yeah, well, just use the fresh citrus. You can also get away with just using extracts as well. Whenever you see these extracts, they're usually packed in water, oil, or alcohol. Alcohol-based extracts, I think, are the best. That's why I do my vanilla in alcohol. The raffle, because I totally cut myself off. The raffle was for a bottle of vanilla extract, very much like this one. And if you look closely, you'll see there's vanilla beans in there. DJ Ariane V, great to see you. Happy New Year. So I left the vanilla beans in here because as I use this, I can top it up every day with vodka, and I will get many, many, many ounces out of this. The initial 2 vanilla bean bottle, this is a 4-ounce bottle, I got about close to 40 ounces of vanilla extract out of it. Yeah, and I just top it up with vodka. You can also use bourbon, but the whole infusing process takes... Oh, you can use bourbon, yeah. But vodka's a lot more neutral. Well, I have vanilla beans in here. Let's see if I can Miyagi one of these out of here. Really awkward to do this. There we go. Nah! Mr. Miyagi, I caught the fly. So here's half a vanilla bean. That's right, wax on, wax off. So I just took, well, this is half of one. I took 2 vanilla beans into the bottle, topped it up with vodka, and I let it sit for, it was like, you should do it a minimum of 4 months. So these were closer to 10 for the ones that I mailed out. So every time I use this, I just top it up with vodka, and I can just keep doing that for a while. Well, this is already infused, so I'll be diluting it a little with vodka, but I'm always extracting some flavor from the vanilla. By the time the vanilla loses its flavor, you can add another vanilla bean or just throw this out and ask me for another one. 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, there was a major hurricane that wiped out a lot of the vanilla orchid crop, and the price of real vanilla went through the roof. Well, one of the biggest reasons why I go to the liquor mart here is just to buy vodka for baking. I also use it for my ice cream. Hey Therina, Happy New Year. Sorry about last night, I was kind of annoyed. And I know a lot of people would have loved to see the all the Gothlings doing their thing. There were surprising, I don't know if it's surprising or an alarming number of people making out right in front of me. Con J Bra, woo! Thank you for the raid. Happy New Year. Welcome, Raiders. No, Gothlings. Baby Goths. It was okay. It's a cute little venue. Funny enough, the owners of the building are Greek, because I see this like hot dude who's got the thick accent, chatting with the bartending staff, and I'm like, he's not Middle Eastern, but it's close. He's way too good looking to be Turkish. He's got to be Greek. So I asked one of my cohorts if they could find out, and they just approached me and said, "Hey, our DJ wants to know where your accent's from," and I just asked him in Greek, like, "Are you Greek?" And he, "What do you mean, oopsie?" It's facts. They're supposed to be my racial enemy. All the Turks that I met in person, I liked. It's just a running joke. Yeah. So it was pretty cute. It was pretty cute. So I'm just finishing off the mise en place here. We have, so that's all of our ingredients. It's a very, very simple recipe, but you can't, I think our rival is Regina, just from the football, sports, hoop thing. I don't follow sports. I think Saskatoon, yeah. The Saskatoon Rednecks and the Winnipeg Blue Oysters or something. Whatever they're called. Just gonna check the temperature on my milk. Yeah, anywho, the show was fun, except my recording got corrupted. So I haven't touched my laptop since I got home, and I'm going to see if I can recover any of the footage. Just cause. The music was pretty sweet too. But the basement, where the bar is, the Wi-Fi is, I think, the worst possible. It's 5 up, 1 down. And anyone that streams knows just how useless that is for streaming. It's a solid brick building, and we were tucked way in the back. So my cell phone, all sorts of Gs, all sorts of LTEs, I was getting 1 bar. So I tried it, I went live, and Twitch just said no after a few seconds. So I'm on low speed here. I'm going to just start creaming the butter. I'm going to add the sugar right away. If anyone's interested, that's where the recipe is. A whopping 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of butter, which is pretty normal. Going to just unplug this for a second and clear off these tines because the butter is totally stuck in there. Starting with room temperature butter is ideal. It's not necessary, but it does help. Minus the flour. You can make this as keto. Like I made this with almond flour and erythritol a few years ago. It was okay. It was okay. So, like, it's hard to make a good keto cake. cheesecake's, though, not a problem. Because keto and cheesecake, well, cheesecakes are damn near keto to begin with. Just use a proper sugar and you're good. So I'm going to keep mixing this up. I'm going to scrape down the side of the bowl a few times. Andrew, I totally agree. I totally agree. Oh, except for custards and puddings. Those also work. Because you can make a wicked awesome keto creme brulee, and if you use allulose, you can torch it. And anything that's caramel based, you can also do as keto. And I mean, surprisingly well. Not just, it's a close approximation, it is the real thing. Ariane V, have fun with the dinner. Feel free to keep lurking. You know, if nothing else, you can just quickly throw together a chocolate mousse or just whipped cream with some cocoa. Layer it up. While this is in the oven, I think we're going to be playing some Jackbox games. And sometime this week, I'm going to have my... Yeah, square of chocolate always hits the spot, too. Okay, that's fairly well mixed. Just going to check my milk. My milk is at 109, close enough. Do you ever make baklava? All the time. All the time. You can make a baklava in about 1 hour, start to finish. Which is why I highly recommend, yeah, I'm serious. I highly recommend everyone carry at least 1 pound of phyllo sheets in their freezer at all times. I received a care package from some friends in Hawaii a few years ago, and I did like a baklava palooza episode, and I did 3 types of baklava. And in the care package from Hawaii were spam phyllo, no. Macadamia nuts, and there was also a jar of lilikoi jelly, and I thought, well, baklava you can use pretty much any nut. I got macadamia nuts, and instead of the normal honey or citrus glaze, I'm like, I'm gonna make a glaze with the lilikoi jelly. It was really, really, really good. It was really good, because the whole shtick with baklava is you have a of the phyllo dough with butter in between. You have a layer of your crumbled up nuts, a layer of your phyllo, and just keep repeating till you get to the top. You bake the whole damn thing, and then you pour a whole bunch of sugar on it, syrup, after you cut the baklava into pieces. But before you remove it, you just pour a whole bunch of syrup on it and let it soak through, and that's it. And if you want to be really fancy, pop a single clove into the middle of each piece. And I actually have a picture just to show how whenever I put any effort into presentation, it's the easiest thing ever. So I didn't do the cloves on the pieces on the outside. Yeah, like little mace cloves, these things. These bad boys, just for decoration. I mean, yeah, you get a little bit of flavor. Tune in later and I will show you a picture. It's just for presentation. But if you like pumpkin spice, you should like cloves. It's one of the 4 ingredients.
Yeah, as long as it's
Very, very minor amount. It's like 12 parts cinnamon to 1 part clove. Oh, you don't like pumpkin spice. Never mind then. Next, we're going to stir in the flour. I am going to scrape down the side of the bowl just in case. Just want to make sure that nothing is sticking.
Hi, DJ Ariane. Happy New Year.
Yes, that's Nuvo. She says bye and Happy New Year. Clang, clang, clang. Clang, clang. Good enough. You can always punch up the frosting or glaze, whatever you want to cover this with, if you're not just going with powdered sugar. Just a couple of drops of lemon extract goes a long way, or you can use orange, mango, or pineapple if you're a heathen. The list goes on. Just going to do slowly on low speed, mix in the flour about 1/3 at a time. Ooh, cornbread. Some recipes describe the consistency of this step as mealy. Just try to get it sort of smooth. You're going to have little clumps. It's not a problem. It'll sort itself out when we add the liquid. Like you can see the clumps in here. Speaking of cornbread, this is a lot more like, here, let's turn off some of these lights, give it some glare. I'm not sure the right word to describe it. Maybe I'll just change it to mealy. But I think new people that are fairly new to cooking don't know what meal is. Like, how many people know what cornmeal looks like that aren't actively making cornbread right now? Okay, so right about now, I'm going to be adding... Yeah, but you live with a pretend chef. Small crumbs, exactly.
I knew what cornmeal was way before I knew you.
Whatever. Okay, so here we're going to add the 6 eggs. Some recipes, like I mentioned before, they call for creaming the eggs with the butter and sugar. Or you just start with the egg yolks and the sugar and then add the butter. Then that should be room temperature if you're doing it that way. And then you whip up the egg whites separately. I think that's unnecessary, especially with this much leavening. The recipes that call for whipping up the egg whites to make the finished product floofy use less baking powder and baking soda. So a lot of recipes don't, but I think should encourage you to add in 1 egg at a time. If you miss and get 2, it's not the end of the world. For anyone that's watching who hasn't been in my kitchen before, especially in person, my cooking area here is 2 feet by 2 feet. So if I can cook the way I do, humble brags, if you can cook the stuff that I do, like if I can cook in 2 feet by 2 feet, you can with your kitchen. Just gonna add 1 more egg. my childhood friends, bless her heart, she was sort of complaining about some first world problems, and that her kids were never going to have hamburger meat. They're going to have steak instead. And I'm like, what's wrong with hamburger meat? And she looked at me like I was some sort of a peasant wearing like burlap sack, and I'm like, they'll shank you. Yeah, steak for her kids. I was a much better cook than her. You don't need expensive ingredients, right? You don't need expensive ingredients to make good food. My kids are never going to have ground. Whatever. And if you're wondering where the yellow color for the cake comes from, you're looking at it. I'm going to scrape down this bowl because I have like a third of an egg worth of stuff stuck to this. Goopy like Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm always going to make a Gwyneth Paltrow reference whenever I say goop, so just deal with it. Yeah, unfortunately, she makes really, really, really good cash, so she can afford to make comments like that. So those 6 eggs added a lot of moisture to this, so I'm going to keep slowly stirring this up until I have a thick batter, which is pretty much where I'm at right now. Just going to clear off those tines now. I have tines, whips. Here I have my 2 teaspoons of baking powder that I'm going to mix in with my milk. Started to froth up right away, not just because of a little bit of acidity from the milk, but because of the heat. So you need to stir this in very quickly. And right about now we're going to start getting something that looks a lot more like a thick batter, because it is. Don't mind my arm hairs. We're going to pretend that I warmed up the oven earlier. See, I know that I'm going to be talking for an extra, I'm going to be adding at least 15 minutes to the prep time because I'm explaining everything and sidetracking myself so often that I don't need to preheat the oven right at the start. And sometimes, like today, I forget. Okay, so that's nice and smooth. We're going to give this a quick scrape. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have a question later on, feel free to post it in the Discord or reach out to me on Twitch. Discord's great because, especially in my channel, because it sometimes sparks a bit of a conversation, which is always fun. I think it's fun. Try this. That's a nice sweet cake batter. Next. Baking soda and citrus. Here we go. Fizzy, fizzy, fizzy. Fizzy, fizzy. Now, a big part of me thinks that I should just add the citrus first and then stir in the dry stuff, but whatever, it's more fun like this. Maiden, you gotta go. Have fun, kids. I think Maiden's afraid of playing Quiplash with us. I think that's what's going on. Right? Okay. Springform pan number 1. Now this batter is going to be pretty thick with not quite 3, but I think 2 C's. Let's put the rest of the batter in my springform pan.
Yeah, not as thick as brownies.
Brownies. I keep forgetting about Greek cuisine, which is kind of ridiculous. Because I keep thinking for some reason that nobody's going to be interested. But one of my friends pointed out to me when I was complaining about this years ago, because I said, sometimes I just draw a blank of what I'm going to do on stream. He's like, Vlurb, what the hell, just do some Greek stuff. Like, yeah, but what? Because I grew up with it. I'm like, yeah, whatever Greek stuff. He's like, whoever says no to Greek? And I'm like, Greek cuisine or Greek something else? Right, and having grown up with it, it's just so commonplace to me. I don't think anyone would be interested.
And that's real.
And that's one of the many places where I'm apparently wrong.
That's not what I said.
If you ever have a really thick batter like this, I'm just going to eat all of this. Good, it's delicious. Because I'm still a child, damn it. You can take your wet fingers. I'm just going to leave that alone. You can take your wet spatula and just smooth the top off a bit. You can tap this down, give it a bit of a shake. Wet fingers work just great though. You might have to get a bit more water on the top to smooth this out. But really, getting it fairly level is all you need to do. Just as long as there aren't any big raised areas, you're good. My aunt brought over a couple of trays of pasticcio from the church. When people ask me the best Greek restaurants in the city, the answer is always my mom's kitchen and then the church basement. Easily the best Greek restaurants in town. Easily. Okay, so these bad boys, oven is close enough to 350. Just gotta check the chat to see if my sister's watching or not. Because you know who's getting the coin, right? This guy. Probably my sister and bro. Okay, into the oven. If you're using a shorter form like this, the total baking time is going to be something like 40-ish minutes, give or take. Maybe 50 total, but if it's short like this, it's probably going to be in the 30 to 35 range. So after 20 minutes, I'm going to sink the coin into one of these. I won't tell you which. Although I just did like 3 times.
Clean off that edge before you put it in. So it doesn't burn.
Did I clean that off? No, thank you. It was pointed out that I did not clean off this edge. And if I don't, it would turn very dark brown and or burn. Thank you. More snackos for me. So these were, hopefully my microphone is turned on in here. I think it's turned on. Is that centered? I think that's centered. I'm getting a lot of glare off this one. So this is the shorter one is going to my family, bro and sis. And what I can do, I'm just going to very carefully run a knife, preferably a plastic one, just along the outside. I doubt that this is going to stick, but just in case it does, I'm going to just run this non-scratchy plastic knife along the outside. I'm going to let this cool down for a couple more minutes because my thumb and finger are kind of cooking there. This one is a little poofed up. Now, I'm just sprinkling the top with powdered sugar, so we can ignore this explosion. I could try to like press it down, which isn't going to work. But what I could do, the joys of springform, very little stuck, and I will show you what the sides look like. Not a problem. Now, if you happen to have, once this cools down and dries a little bit, that's the real key. Once it dries, you can get a very, very serrated knife and just cut evenly across the top. So just hold the cake down and just cut. If you have a turntable, let's see if I can find one of mine. No. Where the heck's my carousel? I actually have two carousels and they're not around, but you have something like a turntable where the whole thing can spin. It's a lot easier to cut the cake. But if you don't have one, just try to keep this as parallel as possible. Again, you should let your cake dry a little bit so it's a little more firm. Just goes straight across. A little bit of pressure keeps it all together. So now I have a flatter surface to work with here, if you really care about that, which I don't. So this is going to bro and sis. Now, am I going to burn myself doing this? Maybe? Yep. I can't do that. So I'm just pressing up from the bottom because this should release nicely. There we go. Remember, the bottom comes off this, so this cake we're going to very, very, very quickly decorate just with some powdered sugar, and this, hopefully this is centered. Thanks, Seder. I will refresh my cameras. There we go. Thank you, Seder. So I'm going to just very carefully, very slowly drop my sugar. I'm getting a lot of glare. Gosh dang it. It's going to give us a little tappy tap, and you can see just this light dusting of icing sugar. Also very, very, very conveniently covers the break in the top, which is one of the reasons for doing it like this. Because right now you can't tell if the top of the cake was cracked. And since I have my powdered sugar out, there is a very, very cute technique that you can do. You can get a piece of paper or something to act as a stencil. and just block off part of your cake or whatever you're decorating. So I could cover this side, the white side, with my scraper and sprinkle like cocoa on the other side to have like two colors. And if you really want to, I guess you could build a little stand contraption and have like stencils and do some actual artwork and design. But I'm just going to finish this off. That was 1 tablespoon, a rounded heaping tablespoon, but 1 tablespoon of icing sugar easily covered both of these cakes, with some for snorting left over.